Well, it is always good to catch up with Daniel Jeremiah here at the Scouting Combine, one of the preeminent voices when it comes to the NFL draft. So let's start there, big picture. What is the first thing that pops into your mind when someone says 2026 NFL draft?
Probably pass rush, to be honest with you. I think it's a really, really deep group of pass rushers, and there's a collection of guys that are top 10 players. Then there's a collection of mid to late first rounders, and we go through each of the first 4 rounds where there's these little clumps of guys that I think all have a chance to make an impact. And when you look at, look how the teams are winning at the highest level right now, it's the Eagles. Didn't have anybody with 10 sacks, but they had a wave of pass rushers win the Super Bowl. Seattle, nobody with 10 sacks, wave of pass rushers win a Super Bowl. So I think to build out your pass rush, you're going to really like this draft.
To narrow it down, when you think of the 3rd overall pick where the Cardinals sit, where does your mind go?
Well, I go to a couple different places. It's if you can get to the point where you believe an offensive lineman is worthy of going up there, it would be an interesting option there. And Maui Noah's probably emerging as that guy, the most likely offensive line prospect. And as you kind of learn more about these guys through the process, like I thought he was 315, 320, and then I got some official weight from him in the fall, and he was playing like 345, and with like less than 20% body fat. Like this is a big, powerful guy. So he's his own discussion. Figure out if you're comfortable with him and get to know him through this whole process. But then you get to, if you want to just solve the pass rush problem, you've got a lot of good options to choose from there. I think there's 3 guys that are worthy of that overall selection, or at least being in that conversation. For me, it's Bailey first from Texas Tech, Arvell Reese, a little bit more of a projection from Ohio State, and then Ruben Bain, who's just like a junkyard dog is the way I've kind of categorized him.
When we spoke to you a couple years ago when the Cardinals had the 4th overall pick and it was a wide receiver draft, Marvin Harrison Jr., Romadunze, Malik Neighbors, I believe you mentioned it was flavor of ice cream. What are you looking for? Is that the same or similar when you're talking about these 3 edge rushers?
100%, yeah. And I would say even in the receiver group this year, too, it's a flavor thing where you have very similarly graded players in terms of the impact they can have. It's just how does he fit with us? What are we looking for? Well, we kind of have a hammer, so we want more of a fastball. So that I'm going to go with Bailey. Or, we want to get a little more firm in the run to go along with what we can get out of the pass rush. So, okay, we'll go with Bain. And then there's kind of we want to swing for the fences and get someone who can put all that together eventually in Arvell Reese. So, yeah, it's 100% in who you are as a scheme, how your coaches, what they're looking for and the type of player that best fits them. I think that's going to inform how they're ranked.
When you talk about the offensive lineman, in your first mock draft, you had the Cardinals at 3 taking Spencer Fano, the tackle from Utah. In your second mock draft, you had the Cardinals taking Francis Maui-Noa, the tackle from Miami. What do you see from those two, and why the change from your first mock draft to your second?
Sure. With Fano, to me, I think he's a better athlete. He's more quick-footed. He's more athletic. Now, I've just heard he's not going to be as big as I thought he was. That's the thing when you get these underclassmen, or, we don't have the official measurables on them. So that's what the combine is all about. So you're kind of learning, as some scouts have had a chance to go through there, or you get relationships inside the programs to get some more measurables and numbers on guys. It's a big difference when you're watching a guy and you think he's 320 and then he's 295 or vice versa. So that was kind of more of that. I think you get a more of an athletic version with him, whereas Maui Noah is just so big and powerful, and he's a right tackle to me, which he played. And then if he fails there, I think you're going to have an all-pro level guard. Whereas I think Fano might have a chance to kick over to the left side. Well, Cardinals haven't somebody to man that position. So that's why I kind of looked at the different options there.
After the first round, the Cardinals will have a top pick in each of rounds 2 through 7. Where are the other position groups that potentially the Cardinals could look at to say, all right, fill a need here, fill a spot there?
I think you're looking for, playmakers in the back end. You can find them throughout this draft, and from nickels to safeties to corners, you can find those all the way through the entire group. I think you want to build out the rest of that offensive line, interior offensive line. I think day 2 is a sweet spot. A guy like, Kansas State has Hecht, who's a really, really good player. You've got Pregnon from Oregon, who's big, more powerful, people mover there inside. There's a lot of good options there. I think this is a good opportunity. If you could come out of this draft and you've addressed the offense and defensive lines and just tried to solidify that, obviously there's the elephant in the room with what's going to take place with the quarterback position and where they go there. but I always feel like that's a good place to start.
This is a non-quarterback heavy draft. What opportunities does that provide Arizona, whether that's staying at 3 and who's going to be available, or the possibility of trading back because there aren't going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks all but guaranteed to be top picks?
It's hard to me to find where trades come in this draft. So where are the inflection points is where the trades take place, and that's usually somebody's coming up for a quarterback, somebody's coming up for an edge rusher. Well, we have really one quarterback that's, in my opinion, that's worth being up there, and he's gone 1-1. So that's off the table. And then the volume of pass rushers that we have, if you're a team that's picking, 10 to 14, you go, oh man, I love Bailey, but man, I can stay where I am now, not have to part with any assets, and I might get a Mesidor, or I could take a Howell or whoever else is it's a really, really good player. So I just don't see where that trade could potentially come from. I would tell Monty, get comfortable with that number of names where you're picking and be ready to turn that card in. I just don't know if you're going to get a phone call.
You also mentioned, and if you don't follow Daniel Jeremiah on social media, it's a must follow, @MoveTheSticks. You have mentioned, and I'm going to quote you here, if you need an edge rusher, this is a good draft to double up.
Yeah.
First round, or are you just talking day 2, even day 3 potentially?
Oh, I think they're all the way through. I think there's guys all the way through, and we'll see it. Once you get a chance to see them all line up here and work out and move around, and there is a lot of interesting names that are go well into day 3, where you're going to have options there of guys who can come in and make an impact. And you can look over the history of the draft. You have a really good deep tight end draft, and you could look at, I think the Ravens have doubled up at tight end, 4 or 5 different times. There's times where there's running backs. Last year, Cleveland doubled up with Judkins and Sampson. So when you get a deep group like that, you're getting a traditional second, third round player in the 4th, 5th round. Who cares if you already have one? Just go get another one.
In addition to the edge rushers, which positions are deepest in this draft class?
Well, I like the edge rushers. Receivers would be the top 2. And then after that, I think the corner group, especially there's a good group of nickels. If you're looking for nickel corners, I think that's really strong. And then day 2 off-the-ball linebackers is really, really solid. I think we've got Sonny Styles is going to go up there in the top 10, and someone the Cardinals could even do their homework on because he's a freak.
Garrett Williams being hurt this upcoming season
true.
for a significant amount of time. Hearing nickels, that could be an area the Cardinals address.
There's good ones. There's really good ones there, including, one of the more fun players is Pons. He's tiny out of Indiana, but he's a really, really good player. So whether he goes in the 2nd or 3rd round, somewhere in there, he's a fun one to go out there. Stukes from Arizona is a really good player in that area. Keontae Scott from Miami is one of my top 50 guys. He's a really, really good nickel. So there's a lot of options at that spot.
You moonlight as the radio analyst for the Los Angeles Chargers. So in that area, Mike LaFleur, coming from the Los Angeles Rams, what have you seen? What have you heard? What the Arizona Cardinals are getting in their new head coach?
Well, someone that, and I've got buddies that were with him with the Jets, previously too, and everybody says 2 things about him. Number one, he's just a super good dude, so you can enjoy being around him. He's just a good dude to be around. And number 2 is he's really, really smart. He's going to be at the forefront of where things are, and being with McVay. That's the lab, and that's the lab that's produced basically the offense. The entire league is running some variation of what they've done there. So I'm excited to see where he takes this thing. I'm really excited to see who he's got, taking snaps and where that goes going forward. But no, I think it's going to be a real exciting era here. They got to get this draft taken care of, get more of a foundation in place. But I think he'll do a really good job.
I know you've got a busy week, Daniel, but for fans listening, when can they expect the next mock draft, and then where can they find more information after the combine is done from you?
Well, first of all, you need to have the mock draft printed out while you watch the workouts, and then if somebody does better or worse than I have him, then you get right online and you just give it to me on there. Because trust me, I check every single. No, I don't actually check anything. But anyways, next week I'll have something next week. Whether it's mock draft, top 50, refresh, all that stuff will be coming up after the combine.
Daniel, always a pleasure. I know it's a busy time for you, but appreciate you sitting down with us for a couple of minutes.
I appreciate you guys.